Today I will start with our discussion microwave devices. This microwave devices concept will come into the consideration of after the 1930s because after 1930s a wavelength approached the physical dimension of the vacuum tubes. Why these microwave devices after 1930 became evident because wavelength approached the physical dimension of the vacuum tubes, the electronic transit angle, inter-electrode capacitance, and lead inductance. They are going to limit the operation of vacuum tubes in microwave frequencies. Okay, so therefore, microwave devices are used after 1930s. Why these microwave devices are used in 1930s? A wavelength approached the physical dimensions of the vacuum tubes, the electron transit angle, the inter-electrode capacitance, and lead inductance. They are going to limit the operation of the vacuum tubes in microwave frequencies. So therefore, in 1935, a scientist A. Hale and Zero, they have made some investigations. According to that, Hale suggested that microwave voltages generated by using transit time effects together with the lumped tune circuits lumped tune circuits and microwave system circuits. In 1935, a scientist invented some microwave devices on the basis of that A. Hale and Zero. According to Hale, he suggested that microwave voltages generated by using transit time effects together with lumped tune circuits and microwave system circuits. In 1939, W.C. Hahn and G.F. Metcalfe in 1939 after Hale and Zero. In 1939, a scientist W.C. Hahn and G.F. Metcalfe, they have proposed theory of velocity modulation for microwave tubes. W.C. Hahn and G.F. Metcalfe proposed a theory of velocity modulation for microwave tubes. After 4 months later, R.H. Varian and S.F. Varian, these are the scientists, after Hahn and Metcalfe, after 4 months, R.H. Varian and S.F. Varian described a two-cavity klystron amplifier and oscillator by using velocity modulation. Velocity modulation is invented in microwave frequency in microwave devices by W.C. Hahn and G.F. Metcalfe in 1939. After 4 months later, R.H. Varian and S.F. Varian scientists describes a two-cavity klystron amplifier and oscillator by using velocity modulation. After this, in 1944, R. Kompfner invented the helix-type traveling wave tube. In 1944, Kompfner invented the helix-type traveling wave tube because since then concept of microwave tubes is deviated from that of conventional vacuum tubes as a result of the application of new principles in the amplification and generation of the microwave energy. In 1944, Kompfner, he is a scientist, has invented the helix-type traveling wave tube. Since then, the concept of microwave tubes is deviated from that of the conventional vacuum tubes. it results that application of new principles in the amplification and generation of microwave energy. So, historically, microwave generation and amplification were accomplished by means of velocity modulation theory. These microwave devices are used to generate the radio frequency. So, this radio frequency from these microwave devices, they will generate microwave generation and amplification. These are accomplished by means of velocity modulation theory. So, therefore, in the past 2 decades, microwave solid state devices such as tunnel diodes, gun diodes, transferred electron devices, TEDs. TEDs means transferred electron devices, and avalanche transit time devices have been developed to perform these modulations. In the past 2 decades, microwave solid state devices such as tunnel diodes, gun diodes, transferred electron devices like that is TEDs, and avalanche transit time devices have been developed to perform these functions. The concept and subsequent development of TEDs, transferred electron devices, and avalanche transit time devices, the outstanding technical achievements are the outstanding technical achievements of the microwave devices. What are the concept and development of TEDs and avalanche transit time devices are the outstanding technical achievements of microwave devices. After this, B.K. Ridley and T.B. Watkins in 1961 and C. Hilsum in 1962, they were independently predicted that transferred electron effect would occur in gallium arsenide. Okay, after the TEDs and avalanche transit time devices, and these are the achievements of technical achievements of microwave devices. After this, B.K. Ridley and T.B. Watkins in 1961 and Hilsum in 1962, they were independently predicted that transferred electron effect will occur in gallium arsenide GaAs. In 1963, J.B. Gunn in 1963, J.B. Gunn reported his Gunn effect. In the last figure, microwave tubes, one Gunn effect part is there, a reflex crystal. Gunn effect is there, no? That is electron beam. Electron gun is there, no? That is named by the scientist. Electron, that is J.B. Gunn. He has reported his Gunn effect. The common characteristics of all microwave solid state devices is the negative resistance that can be used for microwave oscillation and amplification. What is the scientist J.B. Gunn reported? It is called as a Gunn effect. That Gunn effect will state the common characteristics of all microwave solid state devices is the negative resistance that can be used for the microwave oscillation and amplification. The progress of TEDs, transferred electron devices, and avalanche and transit time devices, the progress of transferred electron devices and the transit time devices has been so swift. Today, they are firmly established as one of the most important classes of microwave solid state devices. So, depending on the improvement of the or advancement in the technologies, the progress of transferred electron devices and avalanche transit time devices has been now shifted firmly established as one of the most important classes of microwave solid state devices. Now I will move on to the next topic, a microwave system. A microwave system, it consisting of two parts. One is a transmitter part, another one is receiver part. It consisting of two subsystems. One is transmitter subsystem, another one is receiver subsystem. A transmitter subsystem including or consists of microwave oscillator, waveguides, and transmitting antenna. These are the main components you are having in a transmitter subsystem of the microwave system. At the receiver system, it includes receiving antenna, transmission line, waveguide, a microwave amplifier, and a receiver. Listen carefully. A microwave system consisting of a microwave system normally consists of transmitter system, subsystem, and receiver subsystem. In a transmitter subsystem, it consists microwave oscillator, waveguides, transmitting antenna, a receiver sub antenna are there. At the receiver subsystem, it consists of receiving antenna, transmission line or waveguide, a microwave amplifier, and a receiver. The following figure shows typical microwave system. It is in order to design microwave system and conduct a proper test of it. In order to design a microwave system and also conduct a proper test of it, we should have the adequate knowledge of components involved in that microwave system. Right now, the following figure shows the microwave system. In order to design a microwave system and conduct a proper test of that microwave system, we should have adequate knowledge of microwave or components involved in that system, microwave system. Apart from this, microwave devices, the text describes microwave components. Apart from this are microwave devices and the text describes microwave components such as resonators, cavities, microstrip lines, hybrids, and microwave integrated circuits. Okay, so these are the microwave components. What are the microwave components? Resonators, cavities, microstrip lines, and hybrids, and also microwave integrated circuits. So this figure shows the electronic tuning and output mode power of a reflex klystron. This is a microwave system. See, microwave source which generates the radio waves. This is wave meter, attenuator, and transmitting antenna. These two are stands on which your all components are fixed. These are the waveguides. These two are the waveguides which carries the radio energy. At the receiver side, receiving antenna connected to waveguide, output oscilloscope or power meter, and this is waveguide termination. So this is crystal mount on which it is connected. Okay, this is how microwave systems are having the different parts and subsystems. Now I will move on to an important topic in this chapter is transmission line equations and solutions. Okay, so these are very important from the exam point of view. Now a transmission line can be analyzed either by solution of Maxwell's field equations or by method of distributed circuit theory. A transmission line can be understood or analyzed using two methods: by solution of Maxwell's field equations or by methods of distributed circuit theory. In the solution of Maxwell's equations consists of three space variables in addition to the time variable. In Maxwell's solutions, it consisting of three space variables in addition to the time variable. Whereas in distributed circuit method, it involves only space variable along with the time variable. In distributed circuit method, it involves only space variable addition with the time variable. So when variables will become less, so your simplification analyzing of that equations will become very easy. So therefore, based on uniformly distributed circuit theory, the schematic of conventional two-conductor transmission line with constant parameters RLGC, where R is resistance, L is inductance, G is conductance, and C is capacitance, as shown in the following figure. The parameters are expressed in their respective names per unit length. What is this? R is ohm per meter, resistance per ohm per meter, L is inductor Henry per meter, conductance mho per meter, and capacitance is farad per meter. Like that, the parameters are expressed in their respective names per unit length of the transmission line, and the wave propagation is assumed in the positive z direction. Wave propagation will be assumed in the positive z direction. So this is the representation of elementary section of T transmission line. Elementary section of T transmission line. So here you are going to connect the AC source R delta Z, L delta Z, R delta Z, L delta Z. This is R parallel with capacitor. So at this point A, between these two across this conductance G of delta Z, voltage is V of Z comma T, and current is flowing in this row, in this branch is I of Z comma T, and through this resistance, parallel resistance, your current is flowing through Ig, and this capacitor, your current is IC. So here your current is I of Z comma T, whereas in this loop your current is I of Z plus delta Z comma T. So your total power will be appeared across from the source across this load. This is how your transmission line will be represented in the elementary section of transmission line. So this is called as delta Z. Okay, now I will move to derive the expression for what is current and voltage in Z direction. Okay, so therefore by Kirchhoff's voltage law, the summation of the voltage drops around the central loop is given by, see here, through the transmission line. In this loop, we are going to calculate the voltage across this loop using voltage Kirchhoff's voltage law. So therefore, V of total voltage across that loop, V of Z comma T is equal to I of Z comma T into R delta Z. I of Z comma T is what? This is the current I into R. I into R. Voltage across this resistor, voltage across this, what is this inductor, voltage across this resistance and capacitance. All these things will be the sum of these voltages. So therefore, L into delta Z di of Z comma T by dt plus V of Z comma T plus dVz by Z comma T into delta Z. So this is the total voltage across third loop. So in this equation, rearranging the equation dividing by Az and omitting the argument is Z comma T. Omitting means you understood here voltage and currents are the functions of Z and time. So therefore minus dV by dz is equal to Ri plus L into di by dt. Minus dV by dz is equal to Ri plus L di by dz. Using Kirchhoff's current law, the summation of the current at point B, you see in figure, at this point you have to calculate the current. Okay, so therefore you have to find out using Kirchhoff's current law, the summation of the currents at point B will get minus di by dz is equal to Gv plus C into dV by dt. G means conductance and V is voltage plus C into dV by dt is the current across the capacitor. So all these transmission line equations are applicable to the general transit time solutions. All these transmission line equations are applicable to the transient solutions. The voltage and current on the line are the functions of both position Z and time t. The voltage and currents, what is the minus dV by dz and minus di by dz will be there, no? These voltage and currents are the on the line are the functions of both Z and time t. So the instantaneous line voltage and current can be expressed V of Z comma t is equal to real part of V of Z into e to the power of j omega t. V voltage is a function of position Z and t is equal to it is real part of the imaginary voltage in Z direction. V of Z e to the power of j omega t. That means what? E to the power of j omega t is used to represent this voltage is imaginary. V of Z is a magnitude of this voltage. So therefore only voltage in terms of position and time, if you want to represent, you have to consider the imaginary voltage real part magnitude. Similarly, I will be the function of position Z and t, that will be represented by here also. Once V is imaginary, current also imaginary. So therefore real part of current I of Z e to the power of j omega t is the instantaneous line voltage and current equations. Now what is V of Z? V of Z is equal to, in this here, in the above equation, this V of Z is equal to what? This V of Z is equal to V plus e to the power of minus gamma Z plus V minus e to the power of gamma Z. Similarly, I of Z is equal to I plus e to the power of minus gamma Z plus I of minus e to the power of gamma Z. So where gamma is equal to alpha plus j beta. Okay, so this gamma is called as propagation constant. This propagation constant, in this propagation constant you are having alpha is real part, it is attenuation constant, beta is imaginary, this is phase constant. Okay, so therefore where V plus in the above equation, this V plus and I plus indicates complex amplitudes in the positive Z direction. V plus and I plus are the complex amplitudes in the positive Z direction. And V minus I minus signify amplitudes in the negative Z direction. V minus I minus indicate amplitudes in the negative Z direction. A is the alpha is the attenuation constant. Alpha is attenuation constant. Attenuation constant unit is Nepers per unit length. Nepers per unit length. And the phase constant beta will be radians per unit length. Alpha is attenuation constants. Its unit is Nepers per meter. And the phase constant beta will be radians per unit length. So we substitute j omega for alpha by 80 and divide each equation to the transmission line equations in phasor form of the frequency domain become dv by dz is equal to minus zi, di by dz is equal to minus y into v, where y is admittance, where z is impedance. Its reciprocal of impedance is admittance into v. Di by dz is equal to minus y into v. So therefore d square v by dz square is equal to gamma square into v, whereas d square I by dz square is equal to gamma square into I. In this, following substitutions have been made. So where you are having z r plus j omega, this is admittance, this is impedance O per unit length, y is admittance g plus j omega c mo per unit length, gamma is equal to root zy is equal to alpha plus j beta is equal to alpha plus j beta, which is called as a propagation constant. For lossless line, here R and G will become 0. R and G will become 0. Transmission line equations are represented as dV by dz is equal to minus j omega Li, di by dz is equal to minus j omega Cv, d square v by dz square is equal to minus omega square LCV, and d square I by dz square is equal to minus omega square LCI. So finding solutions to transmission line, the one possible solution is V is equal to V plus e to the power of minus gamma z plus V into minus e to the power of gamma z is equal to V plus e to the power of minus alpha z into e to the power of minus j beta z plus V minus e to the power of alpha z into e to the power of j beta z. So similarly, I is equal to y naught into V plus e to the power of minus gamma z minus V into minus e to the power of gamma z is equal to y naught V plus e to the power of minus alpha z e to the power of minus j beta z minus V into minus e to the power of alpha z into e to the power of j beta z. So at microwave frequencies, it can be seen that here resistance R is very much less than omega L and conductance G is very much less than omega C. Okay. So now by using the binomial expression, the propagation constant gamma can be expressed as like this derivation. Gamma is equal to under the root, you have to take gamma is equal to, in previous equation what you have taken, you see here gamma is equal to root z y. So you substitute z is equal to r plus j omega L and y is equal to, you can take like this is z r plus j omega L, y is equal to g plus j omega c. So you can simplify, you will be getting gamma is equal to half into r into root c by L plus g into root L by c plus j omega root LC. Similarly, alpha is equal to 1 by 2 into r root c by L plus g into root L by c. Similarly, alpha is what? Alpha is propagation constant, attenuation constant. Gamma is propagation constant, alpha is attenuation constant, whereas phase constant beta is equal to W into root LC. Beta, alpha, gamma, this V and I equations you have to keep in mind. Okay, so now I will move on to the expression for characteristic impedance Z0 is equal to. This characteristic impedance of Z0 is represented in a transmission line by Z0, and it is given as root of R plus J omega L divided by G plus J omega C. Okay, so under the root of L by C, 1 plus R to the power of J omega L to the half into 1 minus G by J omega to the power of minus half. After simplification using binomial theorem, you will be getting Z0 is equal to root L by C. Z0 is equal to root L by C. What is the difference between impedance and characteristic impedance? Is there any difference? Z0 is characteristic impedance of transmission line, and Z is impedance. Okay, so here from the generator or source in the above transmission line representation, across the load, if you want to get the maximum power, the impedance of the load must be equal to the impedance of the circuit impedance. Both must be same. Characteristic impedance of the circuit and the load must be equal. Then only a maximum power using the transmission line from source to load will be delivered. So that is the characteristic impedance of the your transmission line. And propagation time TP. Propagation time TP is omega by beta. So here is equal to, you substitute omega is equal to 2 pi of beta is equal to 2 pi by lambda. So if you will be getting 1 divided by root LC will be the TP. So this is your equation. So you are having one small example on this. A transmission line has the following parameters. R is given 2 ohms per meters. G is given 0.5 mho per meter. F is equal to 1 gigahertz. L is 8 nano henry per meter. C is equal to 0.23 picofarad. You have to calculate from this given data characteristic impedance Z0 and the propagation constant gamma. So you know first characteristic impedance Z0 is equal to, just put the formula. Z0 is equal to root R plus J omega L divided by G plus J omega C. You know R omega is equal to 2 pi f, you can find out from the frequency. L is given and G is given directly in the data. So you substitute all these values, you will be getting your Z0 in terms of polar coordinate. This is magnitude, this is angle. So this will be converted into rectangular form, where this is characteristic impedance real part, resistive part, and this is reactance part. Okay, now second point to, you have to be find out propagation constant gamma. Propagation constant gamma is equal to root zy. So what is this? R plus j omega L is z and g plus j omega c is y under the root. R plus j omega L you have to find out separately, and g plus j omega c you have to separately. You will be getting the value in polar coordinates, convert it into rectangular coordinate. This is your real and imaginary part of the. So I will stop my discussion here. I will continue in the next class in for the model 1. So thank you for watching my videos.